As Jack Davy would say, hi-ho, everybody. I'm David Dufty, and I'm taking you on a time tour of the Bouddi Peninsula, including Hardy's Bay, Pretty Beach, Wagstaff and Kilcare. We start our journey here at Woy Woy, back in the 1920s, because this was the place where so many great holidays began. On your left is Blackwell Road with shops, including the bread factory, owned by Helen Dufty's father, Vic Percival. On your right is Woy Woy Station. You could take a taxi or a bus to local destinations like Booker Bay or Ettalong, or you could catch a launch to our destination, Hardy's Bay. In order to get here, we had to cross the Hawkesbury River Bridge, which was opened way back in 1889. This bridge was most significant in the history of our area. We got grit in our eyes and smoke in our lungs as we rattled through the tunnels with the lights off and the windows stuck open. Who can forget that smell? At last the families, with lots of luggage and weary or hyperactive kids, arrived at Woy Woy Station to catch the launch to Hardy's Bay. You need to cross over the railway line. You may have to wait a while for your launch to leave, so maybe Mum could do some crocheting while you're waiting. Maybe your launch is just coming down the channel now. Can you hear it? It's a busy scene. Make sure you brought your Goldenia tea. You can always check the timetable to see what time the launch to Kilcare goes. And make sure you catch the right launch to the right place. Catholics tended to catch the Murphy's ferry to Kilcare, while the Protestants caught the Owens ferries. I'm going to hand you over now to the Kluger sisters, Ruth Hawkshaw and Joan Smith, who will give you a first-hand account of the ferry trip to Hardy's Bay.
When we arrived at Woy Woy station from Chatswood, where we lived, we'd get out of the train, come down to where close to the bakery shop that Helen was referring to, and the Bayview Hotel. The men would all go into the Bayview Hotel and have their Friday night schooner. And sometimes they might have two, I would think. But the women and children didn't do that. All the women and children carried on down to the launch, which was waiting for us at the Woy Woy Wharf. We'd all get on, the deckhand would put our luggage up on the top, Clary Riley, who died recently, aged 100. And then we'd be sitting there waiting, and the driver would toot the horn, or whatever it is. And then suddenly all the men, like a whole lot of kids, as you know men are, would all be laughing and joking, running as fast as they could down to the wharf. Get on, and all the wives would then go for them, holding us all up. Well, how do you must have had two schooners instead of one. And all this carried on. My mother used to do it. So when the men got over that little turn, we'd go down Woy Woy Channel, and we'd just about get to the end of the channel where the bowling club is now, Woy Woy Bowling Club is now. And Dad would turn down and say, all together now, and we'd sing.
What would you sing? Go on.
Fall in and follow me. Fall in and follow me.
Go on, Jen, go on.
Keep going.
Fall in, never mind the weather, all together. Stand by me, boys, I know the way to go. I'll take you for a spree. You do as I do, and you'll do right. Fall in and follow me. That was very
good. We head off now down the Woy Woy Channel, through the famous Rip, and on towards Hardy's Bay. There was no Rip Bridge, no mansions, just small holiday cottages dotting the waterfront in the settled areas. Now the holiday makers are almost at the Bouddi Peninsula, with the deckhand ready with his landline. He throws it from quite a distance and never misses. Well, hardly ever. Here we are at Hardy's Bay Wharf, and I'll hand you over now to Pam Mainsbridge, née Pam Kirby, who was right there at the time.
I was only very small at the time, as you can see, but I do remember we arrived with my mother, my aunt, my sister, my brother and my cousin. It was a sort of a ritual that we would come all together and enjoy the holiday. It would have been a school holiday time. Truro Downs. Truro met every ferry, every launch that came in and every launch that departed. We loved Truro. He was Hardy's Bay. When we saw him on the wharf, we were so excited. We'd jump off the ferry, or as best we could, and we'd hug him and kiss him. My mother could like to tell us not to do that because, after all, he didn't tub very often, if ever. But she couldn't tell us because we would have told Truro we weren't allowed to kiss him. Here we are at the point at Hardy's Bay, right down on the point where the wharf used to be in those days. And I'm the little one at the end. That's me, little tot, my sister Moya, Truro, my brother Alan and my cousin Enid.
Now, Bruce Dunlop knew Truro very well. Bruce, what's your memory?
Truro died when I was about 14 years of age, so it was all children's stuff that I knew. He used to intrigue us that he could meet us at the local wharf as we got off the launch, and even if he hadn't seen you for 12 months, he would remember your name, and he'd speak to you in this little falsetto voice that he had for this occasion, and that was always, "Hello Brucey, how are you?" And we used to be very, very intrigued with this, and of course every child in the area had their different opinions. Some thought he was a terrific guy and a lovely person, and some of the little girls were absolutely terrified. They'd run a mile rather than say hello to Truro. The period is about 1910. My great uncle and great aunt are in the film, and it shows the whole family group. But that's how Truro was with our family and with other families of Hardy's Bay. Everybody sort of looked after him. Mum had asked me to go off just before we'd go home and so find Truro Downs, and he'd come over and Mum would give him anything that was left over from the house, and food and tea and all the sort of things, because we were only travelling with suitcases, and with the result that no one took much home with them, so Truro was a great receiver of those goods. He was a great fisherman, and always someone that you love to have with you, and we have here another image of Truro with William Montgomery, my uncle, and Truro is looking as though he's almost gone back to being a tribesman again with a spear, but he was very good at catching lobster, and he taught every child, I think, that I knew of Hardy's Bay. Everybody there knew how to catch flathead or to catch potty mullet to use for bait, and he was a great teacher of all sorts of things marine-like. Good swimmer and a great sculler.
We'll give our wonderful Colin Smith the last word on Truro.
He was a lovely, lovely, beautiful man. And on Empire Day at Pretty Beach School, we were allowed to come in